Football is back, and so are we for our fourth season here on the Walk Thru GameDay Show. It's hard to believe, Gene, but this is year four of this show where we preview West Virginia and some of the other games around the country, particularly in the Big 12 as well. But I'm Schuyler Callihan here with the Walk Thru GameDay Show on Mountaineers Now and SI Fan Nation channel, and joined with me, as always, my partner in crime, I'm done saying former. Now that I think about that, there's a better word. Legendary Mountaineer running back. Eugene Napoleon. You got that. You got the goosebumps going now, Gene, huh?
I like it. Hey, you see what it says? Hell WV.
That's
See
right.
what it says.
And hey, you're not a former Mountaineer. You're still a Mountaineer, right? I mean, you may not be playing there anymore, but you're still a Mountaineer, so we're gonna rock with the legendary tag from now on. But before we get into our West Virginia Penn State preview, we're gonna do some of that, our Big 12 championship picks, our keys to the game for West Virginia, and then also our predictions at the end. A quick word here from our sponsor. Do you have dirty air ducts? Is your dryer vent plugged up? Well, odds are you probably don't know the answer to that question. Fortunately for you, we know a guy. Give Justin at Country Roads Air Duct Cleaning a call at 304-639-3395 for your free home evaluation. That's 304-639-3395. Country Roads Air Duct Cleaning. Take me home to comfort. Before we get into all this madness, we're going to get into the Big 12 championship prediction here in a minute. Let's just start off with the elephant in the room, right? Neal Brown heading into year five. It seems like this has been the recurring theme for 3 years now on this show is, can he save his job? He's been able to do it somehow. I don't know how. He may be living on a thread right now. But the current state of this program, 3 losing seasons in 4 years under his watch. This is a major, major year for him. Crucial because of the past and because of new AD Ren Baker, who's going to be evaluating him every step of the way. Thoughts on where this program is and how important really this first month of the season is for Neal Brown when you have Pitt and Penn State on the schedule?
I'm gonna tell you, you couldn't have. You served that up really, really nice. That's like a precursor to a 4-5. That's a whole meal there. You know what I'm saying?
We could have a whole show on.
Yeah, 5-course meal. But you know, it's interesting because of the way that these games already line up. You know, with Penn State and then Duquesne and then Pitt. It's just so you're gonna find out the first 3 weeks where we are.
Oh yeah.
To be honest with you. So with that being said, I think. Yeah, Neal Brown is on the hot seat. You know, if anybody thinks that anything other than that, then they're not really being completely honest. So hopefully, and I say this hopefully because again, I like the guy. I think Neal Brown's a good man. I've always said this. It's not about him being a good man. It's about him being a good coach. So we're going to find out where we are as a program the first 3 weeks of the season. And if you mess around and let's just say hypothetically, we're 3-0, oh my goodness.
Tenor flips a little bit.
What? The tenor flips a lot. But conversely, if that coin flips the other way and we're 1-2 in the first 3 weeks, you only win is against Duquesne. No disrespect to Duquesne, but stop it. You're 1-2. Now the tenor. Not only does that seat get hot, Scott. Let me tell you something. There will no longer be a seat.
No, it'll be burned through.
Yeah, the floor will be on fire at that point. And here's what we don't hope for that, because at that point, the rest of the season, although you shouldn't say that the season is over in your first 3 weeks, but because of the scope and the magnitude of where we are with Coach Brown and that staff collectively being on the hot seat, technically, you lose to Penn State, you lose to Pitt. It'll be difficult to get the fan base back.
It will.
Let's keep that in mind, to get the fan base back, which is your support, which is your backbone. And I'm not sure how, from a player's perspective, how you would get them to buy in for the rest of the season.
Well,
that's my concern.
And then you have Texas Tech right after Pitt, who is the very first team outside the AP top 25. So, I mean, you're talking about a very, very tough start to the schedule. You have 5 games in the month of September. And like you said, if they start out 1-2 with that only one beating Duquesne, I mean, it's going to be hard again for not only fans, but like you said, the players to really buy into what they're selling, even though I do believe the schedule gets easier as the year goes along. Because let's be honest, Penn State is without a doubt, in my question, the toughest team they're playing all year. From there, it gets a little easier, but it's going to take a little while before you get to that easier part of the schedule in October and November. So
Right.
it's they just need to keep their head above water. I don't think they need to go 3-0, but I think they need to be 2-1 through those first three games. You can't lose to both Penn State and Pitt. You just can't do it.
I agree 100%. If they somehow come out 2-1, going into the fourth week of the season with Texas Tech, now I think you got something, because I think you'll
Yeah.
be on a momentum and you
And,
can build from there.
and even if you lose to Texas Tech, that's not the end of the world. You're 2-2 and you lost to probably a top 25 team, and you still have a chance to get bowl eligible. When you're 1-2, ugh.
It's it's you know why it's tough? Because let me tell you something. The perspective from the other side of it, from people looking inward to your program, that's you're not starting on a good note. Number one, they already have us looking like we're the slappies of the freaking Big 12,
that,
which I'm
that
not.
that's a great segue actually, because we're before we make our Big 12 picks. The one thing I did want to ask was about that preseason poll. West Virginia picked to finish dead last, 14th, and yes, the 14 teams now in the Big 12. That's behind all four of the newcomers: Cincinnati, Central Florida, Houston, BYU, not to mention Iowa State, who's went through the ringer this offseason. I don't know, Gene. I mean, 14th, I've voiced my kind of opinion on this before. I don't think they're that bad. I think there's teams that are going to have depth issues like those newcomers. But are they going to be a top 7 or 8 team in the league? No, I don't think so either. But they're somewhere between like 9 and say 11 or 12. I mean, how disrespectful and how lazy is it? Or is it fair? Do you think because of the history that Neal Brown's had at West Virginia, do you think it's a fair assessment that they're the 14th ranked team in the Big 12? Is it fair or is it lazy?
No, it's lazy, and it's both. It's unfair and it's lazy. So it's you got a combo platter there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not happy with that at all. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't care if it was 5 teams in the freaking league. If we're last in 5, I'm upset. So to
Yeah.
be last at 14, listen, come on, man, that's so disrespectful, and it's disingenuous to think that we're gonna finish last in a conference where you got 4 newcomers in the conference. That's so disrespectful.
That played
Now,
group of 5 ball a year ago.
thank you. So I'm not happy with that. But at the same token, here's how far we've fallen.
Yeah.
I want you to
Good
think
point.
about that. That's how far we've fallen off the freaking map. And man, listen, that thing, it digs at me as it does, I'm sure, Mountaineer fans all around the country, all around the world, as it does current and former players. That's not who we are. We're not going to finish freaking dead last in the Big 12.
I mean, I've seen all these people out here on X and Facebook and all that that are predicting these game by game things, and they have West Virginia winning 2 games or 3 games. And I'm just like, I mean, do you even try? Or are you just looking at the history with Neal Brown and how bad it's been? But like, you look at this team, they have one of the best offensive lines, most experienced offensive lines in the country. They have a complete stable of backs. Like,
Right.
when you have those 2 things alone, you're going to have chances to win games, and you're going to win more than 2 or 3. When you have Garrett Green, potentially, we'll get to that in a minute. When you have a dual threat quarterback, something they haven't had, I mean, come on. I don't care if 1, 2, or 3 of these newcomers finished above West Virginia in this preseason poll, but all 4, I mean, they're going to have depth issues by the time we get to October and November because they haven't played this kind of level of football before.
That's one. You're going to have consistency issues, depth issues, coaching pofars or whatever. You're going to have all of that stuff, pofars, because when you're not used to playing week in and week out, teams that are very close to you, but because they've had the consistency and they've had the experience, it's real simple.
It is.
Nobody's going to come in here and catch lightning in the bottle. I'm telling you that right now.
I mean, West Virginia thought they were doing that when they came in the Big 12 in 2012. You know, they had to pick to finish second in the league. They started out 5-0. They're ready to give Geno Smith the Heisman Trophy. And then all of a sudden, the crap hit the fan when they went to Texas Tech and the season fell apart. That's kind of what I see happening for some of these teams.
Well, let me go ahead and just say this. As it relates to that comparison, that wasn't really just all the players, my friend. So,
I know where he's going.
That wasn't just all the players. That also had a lot to do with the header. So, at the end of the day, and that's what I mean with coming into a league like the Big 12 with 14 freaking teams, your coaches also have to be consistent. They also have to put the right people on the field. They also have to call the right plays. They also have to manage the clock. They also have to make crucial calls throughout the game. All those things have to work together.
Yeah.
When you don't have those things, and that's what I mean about playing in a competitive league, week in and week out, with these 4 newcomers coming in, they're going to have to get seasoned to that. That's not just going to happen. You know, it may not even happen the first 2 seasons in a new league.
Yeah.
Because you have to be now, guess what? You got to recruit to this level of competition.
Yeah. I mean, and when you look at these newcomers like Houston, Cincinnati, for example, I mean, they lost a crap ton of talent. This isn't the Cincinnati in the college football playoff a couple of years ago. This isn't Houston, even last year where they had Clayton Tune and Tank Dell. I mean, this offense lost a lot, and their defense is a complete train wreck right now going into the season. They were bad last year. They're going to be bad again this year. Yet you somehow think that West Virginia only wins 2 or 3 games. Like I just don't know, Gene. I mean, I don't get it. But anyway, we'll save that soapbox for a different day. Moving to the Big 12 championship prediction and our winners. So again, we've got 14 teams in this thing now. Who do you see in that championship game at the season's end?
That's a really, really good question. That's a really good question. I'm gonna tell you what's so scary, and I even hate to think this, but it will be interesting to see. I really do respect what Texas Tech continues to do.
Okay.
Year in and year out. Because it's funny, they are such a hot and cold team, but when they're clicking, they're really clicking. You know what I'm saying?
They got a ball coach now.
Yeah, man. It will be really interesting to see. I'm telling you, it wouldn't surprise me if they had a much better year, if they had a 7 or 8 win season. If that makes sense, wouldn't surprise me. I even hate to admit this. So when I look at one of the newcomers, right, BYU is going to surprise.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably the most ready team out of those 4.
Right. And I speak to BYU because if you look at what they've done over the years, that's a really, really good, strong program. They get the type of kids that fit their system. They know exactly what they're doing, and they know what their identity is going to be every single year. It's interesting how consistent they have been over the last few years. So it wouldn't surprise me if BYU made a sound run, honestly, their first year in, because they're going to catch a lot of people by surprise. I got to be honest with you. And out of the 4 that's coming in here, BYU is the most ready. And I think BYU handles themselves out of the 4 as one of the top upper programs in this conference immediately. Like, you're going to see, wow, they're better than what I thought.
Yeah, they are.
So, yeah, that's going to be interesting to me. I promise you. Don't laugh. Do not laugh. You're laughing already.
Kansas?
How did you know that?
I just knew it. I knew it. I know you like Kansas. You were on that hype train a little bit earlier last year than everyone else was. So
I like Kansas, and again, because I know what that coaching staff instills in their players. And I know the type of mentality you have to have if you're going to be good. They turned the corner last year. This is no longer a dry run for them. They turned the corner last year. They're going to come out guns a-blazing. And
yeah,
the expectations is not going to be just to be bowl eligible with 6 wins. The expectations is to play for a conference championship.
I
So
mean,
don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if one or two
you can't
games
even
of a
say it.
difference. One or two games of a difference. Don't be surprised if they're knocking at the door at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Daniels, he was terrific for him at the beginning of the year. He gets hurt, and then they just kind of fell apart. But interesting to see kind of where they would have finished in the standings had he been able to stay healthy. So, um,
Absolutely.
so
So I was beating around the bush because it's hard to tell with the Big 12 because it's so out of sorts right now.
it's wide open.
It's wide open. Big 12, but you got 14 teams.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Whatever. It's so out of sorts right now that it is a wide open thing. And that's the reason why right then and there, I'm so ticked with West Virginia being freaking picked to be last in a freaking, it's wide open.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, who do you think will be knocking at the door at the end of the season for a conference championship?
So I do like the Texas Tech thing a little bit. I'm higher on them than I usually am. I think again they got a coach now. They can play some defense, and the way they go up tempo offensively, it's kind of fun to watch. But I've got to go with what my opinion is the two most talented teams. And I know it may be boring, but it is what it is. I'm going with Texas and I'm going with Kansas State to meet in the Big 12 championship. I picked, I could be wrong. I believe I picked Kansas State to win the league last year. It was either Kansas State or TCU. I can't remember who. I'll have to go back and figure that out.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
going on the Kansas State bandwagon again. So I think Texas wins the regular season. Kansas State finishes number 2, but I think Kansas State tops them in the Big 12 championship. So technically, you got 2 champions there, but I'm going Kansas State winning the Big 12 championship in Dallas over Texas.
Wow. Now notice I didn't even mention Texas.
Yeah.
So that goes to show you where my head is as far as Texas.
So who you got? Kansas and Texas Tech?
Wouldn't that be interesting? Now, how interesting would it be if it's Kansas and freaking well, if it's you said Kansas State?
Kansas
Who
State.
did you say?
Kansas
So
State and
how
Texas.
interesting would it, if it's Kansas State and BYU?
Ooh. I mean, maybe. I'm not quite there on BYU.
I'm just saying that will be an interesting thing because I'm sure somewhere on somebody's grid they have one of these 4 newcomers vying for a conference championship. It wouldn't surprise me if you live in Houston. I would imagine they will be saying Houston will win the Big 12 conference championship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone's
how
feeling
funny.
good at this time of year.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, yeah. Okay, all right.
But
We'll see.
so there's kind of our Big 12 preseason picture. We got Kansas State, Texas, maybe Texas Tech, maybe BYU. Um, yeah,
I'm pissed that we can't even say maybe West Virginia. Oh, I'm
it,
upset.
well, good. Well, now we get to talk about West Virginia. So let's dive right into this thing, and that is our West Virginia Penn State preview. Again, they're kicking off at 7:37 ish on NBC Sports this Saturday. The season getting off to a very challenging start for what is a very crucial year, as we already documented here earlier in the show. So, our keys to the game. My number one key is obviously you got to stay composed. Okay, we all know the environment. We all understand that there's probably going to be an attendance record, might be 110,000 some people there, and you're not going to have a lot of those folks behind you. So, how do you respond to that type of pressure? How do you communicate when there's all that ringing noise? You can practice it all you want inside the practice facility. You can practice it all you want and try to game plan for that as much as you want on the practice field. But nothing, and I mean nothing, will compare to what it's like to actually be on the field at Beaver Stadium at 7:37 on Saturday night and hearing 110,000 people screaming and yelling while you're trying to get a playoff. So to me, that's the biggest part of it. How do you respond and how do you play through it? And then when something goes wrong and the crowd really starts to become a factor into it, how do you overcome that? Or do you overcome that? That's a big question for me. Now, I know last year they played in that backyard brawl, which is a crazy atmosphere. A lot of it was West Virginia fans, but still crazy atmosphere. First game of the season. So a lot of these guys have that taste in their mouth. They also went to Virginia Tech, where there's a pretty good sized crowd there too. So it's not completely foreign, but when you have a new starting quarterback, you have a lot of new faces on that defense. There's some question marks there.
No, there's a lot of question marks there, but you know what? I think I agree with you 100% about being composed, going into a hostile environment and understanding that you're under the bright lights. It's a TV game. I'm gonna say this, and it's not going to be pressure. I think West Virginia is going to have one of the best offensive lines in the country.
I mean, it's not completely outrageous to think that.
In my humble opinion, right? I was going over the size of our line and the seniority of our line, and they played so many games together. You lean on that in an environment like this, right? I personally believe you combat all of that pressure by not looking at it as pressure. And what I mean by that is, this is why I came to WVU, to play in games just like this. This is why those young men went to Penn State, to play in games just like this. So there should be no pressure as far as doing your job, playing the game. Of course, all the other outside factors, we get that. I'm talking about playing the game, right? West Virginia gets in, and if they do what they're supposed to do to neutralize that, you run the football down Penn State's throat.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you have that big offensive line. You have a new starting quarterback, right? You cannot put all the pressure on him. So you want to open up the passing game, you have a really good running game. You want to make sure that we're doing okay to neutralize all the outside factors. Guess what? You have to do well in your third and short game. You have to move the chains, right? If you do that, I'm going to tell you something. You're going to make this a real short game.
Yeah.
You want to keep Penn State off the field? Continue to move the chains, continue to move the sticks, continue to be consistent on third and short. And I'm telling you, this thing could be, you're not going to have to worry about anything else, because if you're going to use the word pressure, then you put the pressure on Penn State at that particular point.
Yeah, I mean, that's you hit the nail right on the head there. I mean, I've got 200 plus rushing yards, and it sounds astronomical, but it's not like it's impossible. I mean, especially with the way this offense is constructed, you have so many question marks at receiver. You don't really know what you have there yet. You think you have something with Devin Carter. Maybe Cortez Braham steps up into a role, but you lost each of the 4 top pass catchers from last season. What you do have is C.J. Donaldson in that backfield. What you do have is Justin Johnson and Jalen Anderson and Jaheim White. And you've also got a quarterback that can take it off and use his legs. So I don't think 200 is really out of the question here. I think if you get the 200 plus rushing yards in this one, I'm sitting here thinking, oh, crap, like West Virginia may actually win this game if they can accomplish that, because like you just said, that keeps Penn State off the field, which does this to the game, shrinks it considerably. And with the new clock, which we haven't even mentioned yet, the new rule is the clock keeps running when you get a first down, unless it's in the final 2 minutes of the half or the end of the game. So when you get a first down, that clock's not going to stop. It's going to keep on moving. So that's why I feel like West Virginia doesn't want to put the ball in the air 35, 40 times against this team, because they know there's a pretty decent sized talent gap. If we're just being brutally honest, Penn State's got a much more talented team. But for a team like West Virginia, and how you win a game like this on the road is you lean on your strength, the offensive line, the running back, and you shorten the game up. That's what really good coaches do. So whether or not Neal Brown does that, I don't know. But I mean, you look at this front seven, Gene. I mean, it's insanity what these guys have up front. Penn State. I mean,
Yeah.
Hakeem Beamon, Adisa Isaac, Chop Robinson, who's an all-conference player. You've got Abdul Carter, who everyone is kind of like comparing to Micah Parsons at this point. If you got Micah Parsons comparisons, you're pretty damn good at football. And then you also got Kalen King in the back end at cornerback, 5'11", 191. Had listen to this, Eugene. 3 interceptions, 18 pass breakups in one season last year. That's tough. When you don't have answers at receiver right now, you don't have really a whole lot behind you in terms of throwing the ball with Garrett Green or Nico Marchiol, and you're going up against that secondary, I'm running the ball.
You got to. He's a ball hawk. I like him. I like his game.
Yeah, so
I like his skill set. I like his football IQ. He's a ball hawk, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. Listen, I'm gonna take a step back real quick and say this. I said this a few days ago. Look, you gotta let Green be Green.
Is Green the starter? I mean, he hasn't said it publicly, but I think we all kind of know, right? It's got to be Garrett.
Well, I'm gonna say this: if he is, or if he's not, whenever he gets in the game, you got to let that young man be that young man.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is he doesn't play tight. That's not what he is. So I think that's what the coaches do. I think they make the mistakes of trying to fit their mentality into a player, and then that kid becomes robotic. He's not that guy. Let him play. Because in a game like this, you're going to need all of your special talents from all your special players to show out almost at the same damn time. Let him play his game. And I'm telling you, I really think West Virginia will be okay. And I know might be a little smirk underneath that hat of yours. I'm telling you, it's going to be better than what people expect if we do the things that we're supposed to do. If we don't, it can get ugly really quick.
It could. There's no doubt about that. Again, Penn State is loaded with talent. But I agree. Actually, my third point that we were going to put up here was 0 turnovers, but I'm going with what you just said because I think that makes more sense. I'm okay. I can live with Garrett Green throwing an interception if that means he's playing his game. If he's trying to be too perfect and trying to be restrained and he's not being that kind of risk taker or that gambler or that gunslinger a little bit, that's not who Garrett Green is. He's got to be that kind of guy. He's got to take chances. That's just who he is. He plays with an edge. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. If you take that element out of his game, he's not nearly as effective. So I don't really care if he throws an interception. Okay, now that it comes back to our first point, how do you overcome that? How do you stay composed? So I'm actually okay with that. That's our third point right there. I'm not even getting to 0 turnovers. Now, you don't want to lose the ball 4 or 5 times in this game because then you just give yourself no dang chance at all. But if they can, let's say they limit the turnovers, they overcome that adversity, and Garrett Green plays the way that he needs to play because he's going to have to take chances throwing the ball downfield. He's going to have to take chances with his legs when it might be a little dicey. But he's got to be able to do that if you want a chance to be a legendary player and win this game. If he wins this game, this will be the biggest win in West Virginia football history. They've never beaten anyone higher ranked 9th on the road ever in a true road game.
Right.
So
right. I'm going back. I'm going back all the way to our 88 season, and you are absolutely correct. Yeah, you're correct. Because Penn State being ranked 7th, yeah, that will be, especially on the road. Yeah, you're right. And I agree with you. Again, you got to let this man be this man. And that's what you recruit him for. Yeah. You go back and I watch his high school stuff, man. He was just a dynamo out there, man, doing his thing.
Player. He's an athlete.
You just got to let him play, and you got to live with what comes with that.
Yep. So before we get into our picks for West Virginia, we're going to go ahead and get into our weekly pick'ems. So we'll do the WVU thing at the end. So it is time for our weekly pick'ems. And we are going to get started off here with what will be, Gene, a future Big 12 conference game between Colorado and TCU. But for now, it's a non-conference game. Colorado at TCU, 12 o'clock, noon on Fox. TCU, surprisingly, favored by 21 in this game, Gene.
Hey, crazy.
Where are you going here?
Hey, crazy.
Actually, let me go first. Because I know you got a little thing you want to say here. So I'm going TCU. I think it's close, but 21 points. I mean, that's a whole heck of a lot. I think that might be on our best bets segment here on Between the Ears later this week. So I'm going TCU. It's a close game, but I love Chandler Morris. I think they're going to figure things out with that offense. I know they lost a lot, but Sonny Dykes knows how to coach. They're going to find ways to put up points.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm going to say but I'm not by no 21 points. I'm going to say TCU. And matter of fact, I'll say reason why I'll say TCU, because again, like you said, they know how to win games. They know how to put things together. Okay, it won't be by 3 touchdowns. No. It'll be a lot closer. It'll be a lot closer, a lot more competitive than what people think.
So sticking within the Big 12, which I almost had to double check there for a second because I'm still getting used to Houston being in this conference. You got UTSA at Houston, 7 o'clock, FS1. Dana in his first game as a Big 12 head coach at Houston. Not his first Big 12 game. I know it's non-conference, but you get the point here. They are actually underdogs by 1 in this game, and I'm actually going to go with the Roadrunners of UTSA, Frank Harris, who seems like he's been the quarterback there for 20 years. That dude, I'm telling you, Gene, I don't know if you've seen this kid play. He's going to be on Sundays. He's going to play somewhere on Sundays. I don't know where. I don't know if he's going to be a draft pick. I don't know. Maybe a practice squad guy, but this dude has it. He has that it factor. And like I mentioned earlier with Houston, you lose Tank Dell, Clayton Tune. That defense is a wreck. I got UTSA in this game. They're a good football team.
UTSA, I'm going to say, because Dana knows nothing about defense. No, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. So far, we're 2 for 2.
We 2 for 2. So we'll see if we get a little differences here. And this game is actually where College Game Day is going to be, and it's in my backyard here in Charlotte. North Carolina, South Carolina for the Dukes Mayo Classic on ABC 7:30 prime time. We'll pick this game. We may not have an interest in it when it comes on because West Virginia will be playing, but this is a very, very good game. I know probably a lot of people outside of the Carolinas don't really understand how good these two teams are going to be this year.
Right.
Man, Shane Beamer, South Carolina, Spencer Rattler. I mean, I think last year's just kind of the feel it out. You're figuring it out. This year, they're going to start winning some games. I don't know if they're going to be a true player in the SEC East, but they're going to be special. I don't know if it's going to be more special than what Drake May and Carolina's got cooking up. I've got to go with the Tar Heels here, partly because my wife will kill me if I don't.
We're 3 for 3. That's exactly my pick. That's my pick. Listen, let me tell you something real quick. North Carolina understands these type of games.
Yeah.
And you're trying to this is your recruiting. This also is about a recruiting battle as well. You understand? You're going after some of the similar same type of players. You know, North Carolina wins this game because I really do believe Rathles will throw at least 2 picks in this game. And North Carolina they will definitely do something with those 2 picks. Yeah, I got them at least by 10 points. I know I shouldn't have. I got them by 10.
Might have to place a wager on that one there, Eugene. We'll do that off the air. But anyways, next one we got here, SEC-ACC matchup, LSU, number 5 in the country, and Florida State, number 8 in the country. This is the Camping World kickoff. 7:30 ABC, and this one's actually on Sunday, so we do get this one to where we can watch it. LSU, Florida State, very good game, but LSU's got so much talent. It sounds weird, Gene, but I just can't pull for Brian Kelly. I don't know why. I just don't like the vibe he gives off, and I don't know the old family thing there where he tries to fit in with LSU, and everyone knows that he's not from there. I don't know. I think just for that reason, I'm going to go against LSU here. Go Noles.
All right. Well, here's where we differ. You already know.
Okay.
There's no love lost with me and Kelly either.
Yeah, I know that.
Hey, look. He's not on the field, so move him aside. LSU. I think LSU gets the win in this game. There's just too much talent, man. They have too much down there, and they're very consistent, and there's too much depth. Yeah. So LSU.
And the game we are all here for, it is West Virginia, Penn State in Happy Valley, Beaver Stadium, State College, PA. West Virginia taking on number 7 Penn State. First game of the year. What a way to open things up. Here's a word from James Franklin and Neal Brown on this week's matchup.
Ton of respect for Neal, his background as an offensive coordinator and as a head coach. Got a lot of respect. Obviously, this is a regional game, which I think makes sense. I would anticipate in this type of game that they're going to go for it on 4th down. That's something that they have confidence in doing.
That's what it's all about. 7:30 NBC, number 7 ranked team in the country. Great venue, and so be 106,000 plus there. So we're not going to go and make all the plays versus Penn State. They're too talented. They're going to make a lot of plays. But we've got to make our fair share, and then your goal is you want to be there. You want to continue to be in there. You want to hang in, and put yourself in a position to win in the 4th quarter. And those opportunities that we've had that have gone the way that we want them to go, that's been the way they've played out.
All right, Gene, here it is. West Virginia, Penn State, number 7 on the deck here for the Mountaineers. They have a chance to really shock the world here. Everyone said you're going to finish 14th. Neal Brown's going to be gone by the end of September. But if you roll into Happy Valley and you come away with a top 10 win over Penn State, who everyone thinks has a chance to make it to the college football playoff, that's a complete different feeling around that program heading into next week. So I'm going to go with, I'll be the bad guy here. I'm going Penn State. I'm just being realistic. The talent difference is rather large. They've got a lot of freaks on that defensive side of the ball. I think 6 or 7 of them made Bruce Feldman's freak list at the top at the beginning of the season. So defense is going to be stout. I know Drew Aller is probably going to be the starting quarterback for them. Regardless who starts quarterback, that'll be their first career start. That does come with some pressure. But there's a lot of question marks on this West Virginia team. I do think it's going to be much closer than what every national expert says. I'm going Penn State. Oh, man. 27-20. I'll go right there. 27-20 Penn State.
Wow. Okay. Now, my brain, my head is saying, obviously, like everybody else, Penn State, because of all the obvious reasons, right? My heart, hell, West Virginia, all right? If we play, you almost have to play a perfect game. Let's be clear. In a game like this, you almost have to play a perfect game. Let's just say all the stars are aligned. Let's just say what we do, what we're supposed to do: offense, defense. We show up in a special, on special teams. We get a few turnovers here and there. We convert them not into 3 points, because you're not going to win a game like this on the road by kicking field goals. I'm telling you that right now.
You got to roll it a few times too. You got to go for it.
They're too talented, so you have to do something a little bit different to get them off their game. If West Virginia plays the way that they're supposed to play this game and they keep it close, I say my heart says West Virginia 24-17. My heart says that. My brain says Penn State 30, West Virginia 21.
So which one you siding with?
I used to work on Wall Street when I retired from playing, so I'm hedging the bet right there.
So if Eugene's heart is right, West Virginia's going to come out with the win, and if
24-17. If my heart is right, if my head is right, Penn State wins 30-21. Well, I'm only messing with you. I know I can't do that. I'm messing with you. No, I can't stand Penn State. You understand? I respect their program. I respect what they bring to the table. I respect the talent. I respect what they do in Happy Valley. But I will never, ever go against West Virginia when we're playing Penn State or Pitt. That's a prelude to the Pitt game. So, yeah, I'm going West Virginia. Let's go Mountaineers. 24-17. We go, we get the win, and we shock the world to start the football season off for our Mountaineers. You heard it here. 24-17.
Man, you got me fired up now, Gina. Like, dang, dude. It's time to go. Like, I'm ready for game time right now. Let's kick the thing off. Why wait any longer? I mean, good night.
Let's go.
So you got 24-17 West Virginia. I got 27-20 Penn State. We'll have full coverage of this game, obviously, afterwards on the Mountaineers Now post-game show with myself and Gene to recap how that night went. We don't know. Will it be Gene's heart or Gene's mind that got the victory there? We'll see. But we do thank you guys for tuning in. Again, this is starting year 4 of this Walk Thru GameDay Show. We can't help or thank you guys enough for all your help and support. If you want to continue to help support our channel, please go subscribe to us on YouTube at Mountaineers Now and give us a like. And also, we have some gear. I know some fans have been asking for some gear, so we do have that available. The Walk Thru GameDay gear, Mountaineers Now gear, Between the Ears gear. We've got it all for you in one spot, and that is at Mountees, MOUNTEES.myspreadshop.com. That link will be in the description of this video on YouTube, so if you want to cop out some gear, do so, and we will thank you greatly for that. So that's it for us today here on the Walk Thru GameDay Show. I'm Schuyler Callihan. That's Eugene Napoleon. We'll see you guys Saturday night for the Mountaineers Now post-game show here on Mountaineers Now.